which data source is the most important thing. Our recommendation to and advice to our customers is they think they have millions of data sources. They need to wait for the next 3 years, integrate all these things, create this golden data set, and then start working on AI. Our response to them is no.
Welcome back to another installment of the Next Gen Case Study Series. On today's episode, I have Vasudeva Akula, who is the co-founder and chief data scientist at VOZIQ AI, where he leverages over 25 years of experience in machine learning, speech and text analytics to help businesses maximize customer retention and lifetime value. Under his leadership, VOZIQ AI has developed groundbreaking AI-powered solutions that identify at-risk customers and drive proactive retention strategies, generating multi-million-dollar returns for clients, which is why we're excited to have him on the show. Welcome to the program, Vasudeva. It's a pleasure to have you here.
Happy to be here, Devon. Thanks for having me.
So to kick things off, if we could, I'd love to get a quick little background, maybe a couple of minutes of, who you are, where you came from, and how you found yourself co-founding VOZIQ AI.
So going back to, AI, these days, everyone is talking about AI, Devon, with ChatGPT, NVIDIA, and Apple AI. Everyone wants AI these days, right? But fortunately, we started working on AI-enabled solutions through VOZIQ about 10 years ago when no one is actually talking about AI. And in fact, my involvement with AI goes back even more than 25 years ago, where I first developed a neural network, believe it or not, to recognize alphabets. It was a big problem at that time, 25 years ago. It's a trivial problem now. But how we started VOZIQ is I've been working with subscription recurring revenue businesses where deep understanding of customers is extremely valuable. Because if they keep the customers longer, they keep paying month after month after month. So understanding lifetime value, figuring out what opportunities exist to retain them, grow them, all that is interesting. But the approaches that are being used, both in the call centers, in marketing, in sales channels, and even pricing them, is dependent on one data, two data, and all these things, 2 data points and things like that, right? So we found a very big opportunity to implement AI that uses a lot of different data sources and identify, different customers as growth opportunity, retention opportunity, upgrade opportunity, referral opportunity, all of that. Couldn't be more happier about the problem we selected and the domain of customer subscription recurring revenue businesses that we selected because, as you mentioned earlier, we deliver on the scale of tens of millions of data and value.
So in your experience, there's been quite the evolution of this technology and its application. I wonder if you could maybe explore how some of that early experience shaped your approach to the way that you developed the VOZIQ AI tool.
So the simple story that I like to explain to everyone is AI, these days it's a buzzword, but earlier also, all the subscription companies, where we focus on, so I'll keep my discussion to subscription business. They have been, using various data analytics approaches, but they are, because of the limitations in technology at that time, they were limited with, for example, let's acquire high FICO score customer. That's just one data point. Nothing wrong with it. High FICO is proven to be high lifetime value. Low FICO is proven to be low lifetime value, but that's fine. Now, we also noticed where customers live actually influences a lot of their lifetime value. Someone living in the middle of Montana has a different price sensitivity and purchasing needs compared to someone living in the middle of New York. So why don't you use the geographic data, right? And then what they purchased and when they purchased also influences a lot of things. Even how they pay. Do you pay your service provider using a credit card or a bank account? Actually decides a lot of things. In fact, when you send emails, are they interacting with those emails? Are they calling your call centers? All those things. So, before starting AI, I was a data analyst in my previous life. So I was kind of analyzing all these data sources. And the light bulb moment is FICO is interesting. Calls are interesting. Where you live is interesting. What you purchased is interesting. Where you are in the journey is interesting. Now, what is the way to combine all of this? And that's when we started saying, before everyone else started saying, it's predictive models, right? Why don't we combine all these data sources that are typically siloed in the customer environments? All the companies are collecting all this data, but integrating that and making sense of that and applying that in a particular business scenario was the bigger opportunity. And then since then, never look back.
So it sounds to me that the whole idea here started because there's a bunch of usable information. There was some noticeable trends and data points, but they weren't being leveraged to do anything meaningful inside of the businesses. And so, because you were able to observe this from your unique perspective, you were able to create the opportunity to take that intangible data and turn it into something that was actually usable for the companies that were deploying these tools. Is that right?
Absolutely. Otherwise, this is becoming siloed data. A finance leader is doing something with FICO score. A marketing leader is doing something with engagement data. And a call center rep is doing something with complaints data. The moment we take all of this data and give it to finance leaders, because subscription companies, for example, I'll give you a scenario, right? Finance leaders, they're price managing, right? With inflation, they have a need to increase the rate of subscriptions. You're probably seeing all of this. And, small increments, $50 becomes 52.5 and so on and so forth, right? Month after month. But they were doing this in the wrong customer because they're siloed to, they're not really aware of what is happening in the call center. This customer called yesterday and complained. You do not want to increase the price for that particular customer, right? So when we started combining all these things, like what you mentioned, then the finance leader is winning, the call center leader is winning, and the marketing leader is winning. But the core idea is that integrate the data and then go to the core of subscription businesses and focus on, what is the lifetime value and how do we increase the lifetime value?
So listening to you, I can personally identify a lot of different spaces where this would be very, very useful, especially with like bigger enterprise business where they have like separate business units. Like there's all these different departments or different teams, and communicating, especially across these large teams, really difficult. You've created a way to make that easier or simple. But I'm curious to find out, Vasudeva, who are you focused on serving with this tool right now?
Yeah. So we exclusively focused on subscription businesses because that is where we found a lot of lifetime value, and it is complex also, right? Customers want to stay with you for, many, many years, right? But if their experiences are not bad, they want to switch to someone else and then continue their journey with other companies for a long time. And these are things that we are talking about, home security, lawn care, right? Month after month, someone else is coming and maintaining that, pest control, right? Home warranty, home insurance, right? So we focus on these types of subscription companies. You can think on and on, right? Even retail electricity provider, the power that is coming to your home is a subscription now, if you think of it, because you're paying that month by month, right? But these companies, there is enormous value for deeply understanding their customers. So that is the area where we focus. So integrate the data, but focus on subscription companies, and then go straight into very, very targeted use cases that are 100% directly driving their lifetime value and revenues.
That's a really interesting way to classify a vertical. Too many times I see businesses kind of get stuck in this paradigm of industry specific, right? Oh, like we can only serve real estate, or we can only serve lawyers, or we can only serve dentists.
Yeah.
But from your lens, it looks like, well, we can actually serve all of those things so long as they have this function in their business, because we found that with the data we collect, it serves that more than anything else. I wonder where that unique perspective came from.
Yeah, it's actually the desire to look at data patterns that are simple, easy to understand, easy to explain, because most of the AI model these days, everyone is talking about AI, right? And being a data scientist, being, doing these models for a very, very long time, I always felt it's not just prediction, it's explain the prediction, why that happened. And even more important, what do you need to do? Think about this like going to a doctor, right? And how horrible it is. The doctor says, you have a problem, but I don't know what to do. That is not good, right? You want the doctor to explain using your blood samples, using whatever test they're doing. So we have always focused on not just prediction, but explainability of why someone is about to cancel, or why someone will be okay to upgrade, why someone will be okay if you change the price and things like that. And more than that is the prescription engine. This is what you need to do for that, right? And that is where we actually experimented with a lot of call center data, complaints data. This customer complaint, or usage data. This customer uses your product more often versus this customer doesn't use your product, right? And actually, then we kind of further narrowed and also landed on home service as a key data source, homes and neighborhoods. That is where we said, like, who needs this type of AI technology that also has like explainability that is easy to translate into actions and things like that. And we narrowed as business into, okay, that's called why don't we focus on home services? Because now we can say $1 million home versus a $250,000, a home that is in the middle of Oklahoma versus a not positive, negative, right? The affordability, the price sensitivity, the needs, the expenses, all the lifestyles, they're all different based on the neighborhoods. And that's where, if you want to call that, like, we created our own vertical, it's called home services vertical.
I think that's a very clever approach. And I think because of how unique it is, it affords you the opportunity to be real specific in what it is that you're aiming at serving a client with. So when it comes to communicating that with who it is that you're aiming at serving, what's your approach to getting people out there to know that you exist? And then once they do, how do you attract them in? Is this like a one-on-one kind of relationship building thing, or do you do like marketing, brand awareness, that kind of thing? Like, what's your approach to customer acquisition then for something like this?
So we are a bootstrapped company. We are proud of it, not the typical Silicon Valley. So that puts us into a different category, right? So this is not spray and pray or big splash of marketing events, annual events, and things like that, and try and see what works type of approach, because every dollar, we need to be very, very careful with that. So I'm proud of the approach that we have taken, because now we are careful about every dollar we spend. And we're also proud to say that we are customer funded. That means every problem that we solve is a real problem. This is not like, try this and see if it works. If not, raise some more money and see what happens next time, right? So we are very careful. Our customers are coming typically from word of mouth. We do some LinkedIn brand management, things like that, and run monthly webinars. And that's how the word spreads. But this is not like splashy marketing or anything. We believe in what we do. And our customers are happy to refer other companies.
So what sorts of challenges or bottlenecks or friction have you experienced along the way? Because I know being a bootstrap company, which good for you, by the way, like kudos, congratulations. That is a hell of an accomplishment. I can't imagine it would be easy. So what's kind of come up along the way that you guys have faced?
Yeah, it was, kind of, when you have, a lot of things, with limited resources, right? There are 25 things you want to do, and you have to, pick and choose like which 2 things you can do, because you cannot really work on 25 things, right? So, we had to do a lot of prioritization. Sometimes, like, we had to stop projects in the middle of the project because, we got enough signal this is not going to work. So why bother, right? Those types of things. But if you have unlimited resources, you would have carried it forward, good or bad, right? Maybe a little bit of good happens with that approach, but a lot of bad happens, right? So we had to prioritize. We had to narrow, the domain. So, well, like what you were saying earlier, there is no such category called home services category, but we had to invent that. And because, that is where, we believe that we can add tremendous value, right? So I think prioritization it gave us good discipline, if you ask me, right? Because, there's no other way. You had to prioritize, you had to be disciplined, and you had to choose, which problem are you genuinely going to solve, and which problem is, fluffy.
Yeah, that is a difficult balance to strike between all of the potential opportunities that exist in the way that you could, grow the business, but then, which ones are going to be the most effective, and then having to narrow that down. I wonder actually how much of your data-driven mindset helped fuel that that approach to the way that you built the business?
Yeah. Actually, quite a bit, right? Because, they're not just me, the rest of the team, we call half of our team AI Center of Excellence. We call it our ACE team, ACE, that's a pretty nice acronym. But it's AI Center of Excellence. All of them are data scientists, data engineers, all of them. There are 50 of them who are data thinkers. I would call them data ninjas, right? They live and breathe data every single day. So it's natural for them to prioritize. And the rest of the team, sales and marketing, IT, because, we talk about data all the time, right? So they're naturally, used to prioritizing things and things like that. So fortunately, because of the problem that we are solving, prioritization came natural to us. But there are situations where, we tried different things and, not everything kind of translated into, the big stories that we see now, especially in the early days, right? We actually thought like, there's a lot of data in social media. Let's just get all of that and see what happens. Now, that's not helping, right? Because, while it might be insights, like we are not able to tie that social media data to, oh, this is day one calling and complaining, or this is Vasu calling and complaining. So we went back into internal data after all of that hype, if you remember, 10 years ago. Social media data is very, very useful for, particular use cases. But in the problem that we are solving, we're actually finding, good old data sources that exist in, maybe, internal data sources and things like that. But, there were pretty interesting days if we go back 8-10 years.
Yeah, figuring out what is going to be useful data and what isn't going to be useful data, I'm sure, is a hard hurdle to overcome. I remember hearing that Google uses billions of data points to help make their platform, their advertising platform, more effective. And I was like, well, I mean, is it really though? If you have that much data, is it helping or is it getting in the way? Have you experienced that in the work that you do, or you kind of gather too much of data? Like, is it ever too much?
That's actually a very, very good point. I'm glad you brought it up, right? Because, billions of data. Tell me, billions is helping. No, I believe there are 10 to 12 data sources that are going to be helping. There's a very, very long tail that thinks like, feels like it's helping, but, it's like news channels, right? So I watch CNBC most of the time, but my news about elections, CNBC. My news about sports, CNBC. My news about weather, CNBC. So now I watched, let's say, another channel and another channel and another channel. They're telling me roughly the same thing. So what happens is customer who started calling, complaining. By the way, if I use the trouble data and usage data, there is a pattern there because this, called and complained and satisfaction rating of 5-star versus 4-star. These three things are absolutely correlating. So now once you go to 10 data sources, 15 data sources, 20 data sources, you're only dreaming that you have information, but this is correlated information. You already got it in the first 5 data sources. So part of our advice through our AI Center of Excellence is which data source is the most important thing. Our recommendation to and advice to our customers is they think they have millions of data sources. They need to wait for the next 3 years, integrate all these things, create this golden data set, and then start working on AI. Our response to them is, no, we keep it simple. Believe it or not, we already know what 5 data sources or 8 data sources that you already have that are easy to gather are the most useful. And then let's call this continuous enhancement. So that's a very, very good data point. There's a lot of hype about AI, billions of data, the entire world mind and all of that. But with real experience, we kind of take the opposite approach. Small is actually good if you know what small is, the right small.
Yeah, isn't that a part of the human condition? We tend to overcomplicate things when unnecessarily. With just the right information, we can make much more informed decisions. And so I think that challenge of figuring out what is the right stuff, you got that dialed in now, and the work that you're doing is serving the right people, and I'm excited about what's in store for you. I am curious to learn, Vasu, what is on the horizon? What are you working on? What are you aiming at? What are some of the big goals that you're working towards?
So obviously, being bootstrapped, we had to pick and choose the problem that we are going to be solving, right? So we passed those milestones. We got very happy customers, happy testimonials, publicly C-level leaders are happy to talk about us. So we're all proud of all of that. And now, we are, as the, marketing leader, right? So get, keep, grow subscription funnel. get customers at the lowest cost possible, get the right customers, keep the customers for as long as possible, and grow the customers, right? So we took our core solution, which I believe is the hardest solution for subscription, keeping customers, which requires deep understanding of their needs and all of that. We solved that for plenty of years. And now we are expanding this into the entire funnel of get, keep, grow with specific use cases, specific AI models. And our solution currently, compared to a couple of years ago, one or two models working together, we are happy to say this, when fully implemented, these are 10 plus predictive models that are collectively working as one system in a very, very seamless way that will predict the opportunities, whether they are growth opportunities, lead scoring opportunities, win back opportunities, referral opportunities, upgrade opportunities, or retention. And now, how do you capitalize on those opportunities, right? So all of these are multiple predictive models, which is where we completely differentiate with either other companies or, most of our competition is technically, someone inside those subscription companies trying to do this by themselves. But we give a lot of advice, a lot of, proven practices that make their life easy.
This has been very helpful, Vasu. You've been generous with your time and your wisdom, and I'm very grateful for that. To kind of wrap things up here, I wonder if you could maybe, if there was a piece of advice that you could offer somebody who's in a similar role, who's doing kind of similar work, maybe not necessarily a competitor, but just somebody who's out there kind of up to it. What advice could you offer that person to kind of help them along their way?
Yeah, I'll give advice to, subscription companies, because we talk with hundreds of subscription business leaders, right? So the suggestion that I give is AI is way more than business ready, right? When companies are hesitating, are we ready for AI? Is AI ready for all these things? There are failed business cases and super duper successful business cases. So I don't think subscription leaders need to wait for adopting AI. My recommendation to them is start small with one use case, very, very narrow use case. Start with one particular channel, put it in your call center, put it in your marketing channel, put it in your mobile app, right? One channel, one use case, see the value for yourself and then grow, right? That's the advice I would like to share with any subscription leader, whether they want to partner with companies like VOZIQ, which can help, or they want to develop this type of technology in-house.
Very sound advice. If somebody wanted to reach out to you to pick your brain or perhaps work with you, what's the best way for them to do that?
Oh, the easiest way is I'm trying to put myself on the internet these days through LinkedIn. So LinkedIn connect request is probably the easiest way. Otherwise, they can always go to our website. It's voziq.ai, VOZIQ.ai, or they can also reach out to me through an email. It's vakula@voziq.ai.
Wonderful. We'll make sure to link to all that in the show notes so that anybody watching and listening will be able to find you easily. And if you are looking to get in touch with me and my team for any of your marketing needs, you can visit nextgengrowth.com. Otherwise, that's it for this episode. Thanks for joining us, and I will see you in the next.